This episode, we're diving into the skills of communication with Mark, a master communicator with over 2 decades of mentoring experience with big corporations such as Technology One, Komatsu, Australia Post, and much more. Mark will be sharing his strategies and experiences on how changing your mindset can lead to greater opportunities, and how he adapted to constant communication changes whilst training big corporations. Mark will share the communication training that changed his life, that is easily accessible to you. We will go into detail about what this training involves. You never know, the insights shared in this episode may be the key you've been searching for. Hello and welcome to The Growth Concept, hosted by myself, Kieran Upton, where our mission on this podcast is to inspire young individuals by bringing experts to you all in one place, so you can pick up lessons and apply to your life. Hello, Mark, and welcome to the Growth Concept podcast. Thank you very much for coming on this episode to share your wisdom and guidance for all young individuals out there.
Thank you, Kieran.
To start this interview off, Mark, what has inspired you to start the journey of public speaking mentoring?
Actually, I'd started with a children's book. I was working at Australia Post, and we started a children's book called The Aussie Postie, me and a friend of mine. During the publication of the book, they told us that we needed to improve our communication so that we could sell the book. I thought, oh, that sounds okay. They sent us to Malaysia, to Kuala Lumpur, for a training session. And while we were there, the presenter said, "Get into Toastmasters. That will help you." I'd never heard of Toastmasters ever before. So I got back to Perth and I looked up Toastmasters and I went to a club and it blew me away. It absolutely blew me away how good they were. So I can't say that I've been on a mission. I think the mission found me in a way.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And so I started on my communication journey through Toastmasters and then found my true calling, I think, in communicating with others and teaching others communication skills through my own business called Confident Communication.
Yeah, right. That's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So what has been the most defining moment along this journey? Was it a particular business relationship or a bit of a speed bump along the way? Tell us about it.
Do you know, I think the defining moment for me was a mindset thing for me. It was around about the year 2000 and opportunities were coming my way, but I was saying no to everything. I was too cautious. And I watched a video called The Secret. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's an amazing video called The Secret. And in it, they teach you to visualize things that you want in your life, to write them down, and to have pictures, like a picture storybook of what you want in life. And as soon as I changed my mindset to this, all sorts of things started coming toward me. The Aussie Postie children's book was one of them.
Yeah, wow.
And then the Toastmasters came into my life. And so I think that was the real start of it all, was just the change in my mindset and how I just grasped everything that came to me.
Yeah, wow. So that's absolutely awesome. So it's a kind of a form of manifestation, right?
Yes.
Was it something that happened immediately, or was it over a great period of time?
I think it happened as soon as I changed my mindset. It happened immediately.
So like a switch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
wow.
like a switch being turned on. I'm not kidding you. Once I watched that video, The Secret, and I said, yes, that sounds like something I could really do. It was like the next day maybe there was a knock on my door and, Mark, here's an opportunity. And I just said,
No
yes.
way. Wow.
And in fact, I gave a speech that was called The Yes Man. I turned into the Yes Man because I would say yes to everything that came my way from then on.
Yeah, wow. So the reason why you didn't do this earlier was it a fear factor or something like that? Yeah, right.
Yeah, the fear of the unknown, the fear of failure.
So you really had to grasp your head around that change.
For sure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So moving into your career, can you share a story on how you started in the field of communication in more depth? You spoke about how you started working at Australia Post. Like, what did that involve? How did communication mentoring even end up in that?
Well, it's funny that you mention that because it was about 2008 when I started Confident Communication, my public speaking business, where I mentor and teach others how to speak in public. But, you know, as soon as I changed my mindset at Australia Post, for instance, I'd been there since 1990 and I'd never really got anywhere in the business. And as soon as I changed my mindset, opportunities for growth in my business through Australia Post all of a sudden came to me. And before I knew it, I was manager. I was a managing at Australia Post, like a crew in the Australia Post team. So from nothing came something because I changed my mindset and I said yes.
Yeah, wow, that simple mindset change can just change the full direction of your life. Kind of makes you think like, what if I didn't say yes? Like, what if this, what if that?
Yeah.
But yeah, it just shows how directions can change so rapid.
Very quickly.
For the best and sometimes for the worst, but luckily for you, stayed in there strong.
And the whole communication door opened up for me. I really learned how to communicate well and effective and powerful.
So moving into, what are some of the biggest challenges that you encountered when training large organizations through your business? How did you tailor your approach to meet the needs of the different types of communication styles?
Yeah, well, training large organizations is definitely a challenge. It is a challenge. Every organization has different ideas of how they would like their people to communicate. And so you have to tailor your types of trainings to them by what their needs are. But really, when you come down to communication, it's the basics. I love to teach the basics. Where do you put your hands? Where do you put your eyes? What do you do with your arms? All of these things I teach because they are the basics. And once you get over those basics, it's amazing how much it changes your confidence, how you become so much more confident when speaking not just to people but to groups of people.
Yeah, for sure.
So, training large organisations was tough and it's hard with lots of people, but we developed some great programs that they could get into. That was very short and sharp, but it got them to stand up in front, because you can watch training videos till the cows come home, but until you get up there and do it, you're not learning.
100%.
So by getting up there and doing it, that's when you're learning. And that's what we provide in our trainings.
Yeah, right. What were some of the courses that you provided? Was it just the basics, or did you go into the more advanced side of things?
Yeah. Well, sometimes we would do a more advanced trainings for some people. Of course, trainings these days change a lot too. There's a lot of online communication now, which changes quite a lot.
What are your thoughts on that? Like, it's all virtual now. Obviously, that's got to have an impact.
Yeah, sure, it did. Well, it was something that I at first shunned. I didn't quite like the online training, but lots of people are doing it now, so you have to get your head around it. And you're not now speaking to lots of people where you're looking around rooms and looking at people. You're looking at a tiny camera, and your camera is the whole audience. And how important is it to look into that camera and use the space that you've got? You've only got this much space, right? And so your whole communication comes down to a small screen. And it's an art. It is an art to be able to do that.
Do you find that has an effect on the individual's progress, whether it's slower, quicker, or purely based on the individual?
No, not really. I don't think that online training makes it any quicker. I think it's pretty much the same.
Yeah, right.
It's just a different atmosphere. Yeah. I think people speaking to an audience have much more fear of that than they do speaking to a little camera.
Yeah, 100%, especially with a phone in your hand all the time.
Totally. Yeah.
So moving into, obviously, you had a business, changes come up and you got to adapt quickly.
Yeah.
With staying up to date with the latest communication trends, if that's what you call it, how did you do that? Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, a lot of things started coming out like TikTok and things like that. Yeah. Yeah, it's a whole new learning experience.
Yeah.
I think talking to younger people, asking them how do they communicate now is a good way to find out about those types of fields. And it's important to learn how to do all of that. Like what you're doing now, Kiona, is it's amazing to me. Yeah, that's what the road I started going down of learning about the new types of communications that we can have and learning about them and developing some training on those fields.
Yeah, at least with like knowing the basics of where you put your eyes, where you keep your hands, you can apply that to obviously your virtual and in real life presentations as well. So that's very valid. I'm sure we can all take something home from that.
Absolutely.
So moving into effective communication.
Yeah.
Based on your experiences, do you think the younger generation is going to struggle grasping the process of communication, in your opinion?
Well, I do, I'm afraid. I am concerned about the younger generation now. They seem to be quite caught up in online presence.
Yeah.
Completely online presence. And speaking to groups now and to people has become a little bit rare for younger people. I am a bit concerned that the youth of today are going to struggle with communication. That's why I think Toastmasters is an amazing organisation that really does help. And I've seen a lot of young people now come through Toastmasters.
So tell us a bit about what is Toastmasters, because I have no idea.
You have no idea. I think you do. Well, Toastmasters is a worldwide organisation founded in 1924. So 100 years right now, 100 years celebration for Toastmasters International. And it's a place where you can go and develop your public speaking skills in a friendly environment.
What do you mean by a friendly environment?
Everyone is very supportive and they give positive feedback. Never any criticism of how you speak or what you do. There is a set plan in place where you can slowly develop your public speaking skills and even leadership skills you can learn too in Toastmasters. And there's never any pressure on you to go as fast as you like or as slow as you like. But I find that most people really do come along. I find around about 3 month mark. Once they've been there for around about 3 months, you can see a huge change in them.
Yeah, wow.
A huge change. So Toastmasters is an amazing organisation.
Yeah, right. I'll definitely keep that in mind. And for the listeners as well, I'm sure. Yeah. It's accessible in there in all different areas, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. So moving into your perspective on what effective communication really is, like what is effective communication to you?
I really think that effective communication is about your listening skills. This is something I really want the youth to think about, is you have to listen with intent to answer people's questions. Because when your mind is fully focused on yourself, you're only trying to get what you want. If you're not taking the people that are speaking to you and listening to really what they say, how can you effectively communicate to them?
Yeah,
how
exactly.
Can you? So I think, that the true effective communication is effective listening.
And do you mind highlighting a couple of key points that effective listening involves? What does that involve?
Really listening to what's been said, and when you do communicate back, to be clear, to be succinct.
What does that mean?
To be really understandable of what you're saying. What are your points? What do you want to get across? And be clear and succinct, again, about what you're saying. Get your point across.
With obviously doing this Toastmasters, and as you were saying, you're seeing a lot more younger people come along, some mature, some younger. What are some common barriers you see these younger individuals facing? Is it a fear thing, anxiety thing, or a speech thing?
I think it might be a little bit of self-belief for a lot of young people. You know, I remember when I was young, I didn't have a lot of self-belief either. But I think I see a lot more of it now in the youth of today. Their self-belief in themselves, because they're not taught these things at school. Communication is not taught at school. It's something that you have to learn along the way. And so by providing these communication trainings, it can help the youth to be able to do that. So, yeah, I think self-belief, learning to be able to sell themselves as well, in job interviews, for instance, really important.
Yeah.
Great skill to have is how to sit at a job interview. I'd like to tell you a quick story about a guy that came to me for some training. He was running for the Naval Academy for officers, naval officers. It was very important to him. He came to me and I gave him some great training. We tackled the questions that he may get in the interview, and this young man aced it. Absolutely aced it. He is now a high-ranking officer in the Navy. It's one of my proudest achievements, actually. So, yeah, this young fella, Josh,
that's amazing.
In the military.
Was that a self-belief thing that he may have struggled with before?
Yeah, for sure. He wasn't sure how he would go about these interviews with the naval officers that he had to get through, and he didn't know what to say. So we just structured some great training for him on how he would go about answering these questions, how about selling himself. Because that's what you have to do in a job interview, is to sell yourself.
Do you mind giving us a couple of points on what that actually involves?
Well, you in a way you have to brag about yourself a little bit. What you can bring, what can you bring to this organisation about the things you've done in the past, maybe something that you've done to be able to motivate people.
Yeah, for sure. So definitely like having that win-win mindset going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you were saying earlier about you had self-belief barriers as such, and you were saying that you see that in some younger people today. How do we overcome these self-belief barriers?
Well, I think you just have to start, don't you? Really.
No matter how scary it is.
No matter how hard it is going to be, you have to take that first step. And so, like I said before, say yes to everything. Don't worry about if you think you can't do it or there's a barrier there. Take the step and try it and take it on, because you never know what you can do.
Definitely.
You really can't. You don't know how good you can be until you take a chance. So
essentially with overcoming that belief barrier is just full sending, go for it, essentially.
Yeah. And just start. You've got to start. You have to make a start. People say to me all the time, I'm just not ready, Mark. I'm not ready yet. Well, you know what? You're never going to be ready. You're never going to be ready. So just start anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. You're going to make mistakes along the way.
Yeah, definitely.
That's okay. Yeah.
With your business, what was the name of this business again?
Confident Communication.
Confident Communication. Yeah. Tell us more about that experience with training these organisations, because I'm sure there must have been a lot of pressure going back on you with performance and stuff. Tell us about that, about your journey through these big corporations.
Okay, sure. So 2008, I was starting to go into the leadership of district Toastmasters here in Western Australia. And someone said, I was training lots of club officers, leaders in Toastmasters. And someone said to me, Mark, you're a great trainer. You should start your own business. And I went, really? What? I didn't think I could do that sort of thing. So I contacted to someone that I knew who was doing training in Victoria.
Yeah, right.
They were doing their own training in Victoria. And she gave me some great advice on how to get a business going. So I started a business plan. We got the website all set up and I just launched. Yeah, I just took that first step and launched into confident communication. We started, my wife and I, Robin, ran confident communication, and we started writing up training programs that we thought would really help. And away we went, and all of a sudden my phone started ringing.
Yeah, right. So did you do reach outs as such, if that's what you call it, or did you have your business set up and everything came to you?
Yeah, it was a little bit that way. I started with a large organisation called Australia Post because of a few contacts that I had. So we did a great training for Australia Post over 6 weeks, and they absolutely loved it and came back for more. So we started there, and then word of mouth seemed to get around. I started promoting my website a little bit more, got a few more contacts, and it started to grow from there.
That's amazing. So that was purely based, you got into that industry purely through Toastmasters with working your way through the districts?
Well, not through Toastmasters, but because Toastmasters gave me the confidence to start it. And you meet some great people in Toastmasters, so I got some good connections through Toastmasters. There's a fair few people who go on and start their own business through Toastmasters.
Yeah, right.
So that's how I got started with confident communication.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I got one last question for you, Mark.
Sure.
If you could go back to your 18-year-old self, what is some advice you would give yourself?
Yes. Well, my 18-year-old self was, no knowledge whatsoever. I was sports crazy. Nothing else really mattered to me except for sports and girls.
Fair enough.
About it. So if I went back to my 18-year-old self, I would have told myself to get into communication a lot earlier. Yeah, if I had discovered Toastmasters a hell of a lot earlier, I think I was like, how old was I when I first started Toastmasters? In my 40s.
40s?
Yeah, about 30,
Wow.
39, 40.
So you started that business when you were around 40?
Yeah, oh yes.
That's so cool.
2008, I was almost 50 then.
Still young. It's all in the mindset.
That's right, yeah.
So essentially, what you would tell your younger self is start earlier into the skill of communication.
For sure. I would give that advice to my younger self, yes.
Would you offer the same advice to other people with gaining that skill sooner?
I certainly do. Yes, I do. And I just love now that in Toastmasters we're getting a lot more younger people come in, and it's great watching them grow. It's fantastic to watch them come in not really sure of themselves. We have a young fella in our club, very timid he was at first, but I've seen him blossom. Daniel, he's just blossomed into a beautiful butterfly. He's really is growing with confidence.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I love watching that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we've gotten a grip on where the audience can go to develop this skill of communication, Toastmasters. Yeah. Do you have any other resources or advice to end this interview?
Well, with Toastmasters, you can find a club pretty much anywhere. Just go into the website and Google a club near me. Yeah, Toastmasters International. You can find a club near where you live. Go there, find out what the club is like, test it out a few times, see if it's good for you, and join.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the way to do it.
And with joining these Toastmasters Club, people would learn the basics of communication.
Yeah, you'll learn how to give a basic speech. We'll teach you where to put your hands, where to look in the audience when you're talking, how to overcome those nervousness. Because let's face it, when we get up in front of a crowd, there's nerves, right? You're going to have nerves. But it's about controlling those nerves, putting those butterflies into the straight order, and getting your message across.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
We can teach you all of those basic skills, and then you can blossom from there.
Yeah, definitely.
through Toastmasters.
What advice would you give to someone they may know about this, but they're sitting on the other end of their phone or laptop being like, oh, I'll go next week, the week after. And then before you know, it's been like 3 months.
Yeah.
What's your advice to overcome that fear? Because, I have to admit, I had that fear with joining Toastmasters, and it was scary.
Yeah.
It was very scary.
Yeah.
What can you say to help overcome this?
Look, I've heard many, many stories now of people who would show up at the car park, drive around a few times, and then drive out because they just weren't ready, or they didn't feel like they were ready. But you just have to be ready and please walk in the door. Just please walk in the door, give it a go.
It's that mindset.
Yeah, it's the mind. This is what I've talked about. Say yes to opportunities. Turn your mind on for things that are coming your way, and it'll come to you.
It's kind of like that red car theory where it's like, how many red cars did you see on the way here?
Yeah.
You couldn't tell me.
No.
What if I said, I'll give you $100 for every red car you see? You'll be looking out for those red cars like crazy.
Yeah.
Kind of same with opportunities.
Yeah.
Really changing that mindset to see that opportunity. Yeah. So it's really good that you've demonstrated how that can affect and change the direction of someone's life. I think that's absolutely amazing.
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Mark. I really appreciate you coming on this podcast and sharing your wisdom to everyone here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
And Keone, you are an amazing Toastmaster so far. Well done.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
If you've gained any sort of value out of this episode, please share it with someone that could gain something from it as well. Remember to follow this channel so you can stay informed with the latest insights to help you unlock your hidden potential. I also invite you to leave a review on what topics you want to hear from the experts next. As our audience grows, we'll be able to bring more influential guests on this podcast to help you transform your dreams into success. Mark will be sharing his strategies and experiences on how changing your mindset can lead to greater opportunities, and how he adapted to constant communication changes whilst training big corporations. Mark will share the communication training that changed his life, that is easily accessible to you. We will go into detail about what this training involves. You never know, the insights shared in this episode may be the key you've been searching for. Mark will be sharing practical strategies that could change the way you interact with people, whether you're looking to improve your relationships, business, career, or confidence. The insights from today's episode may be the key you've been searching for.